And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City, coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. It is your home for your next ride, be it a lease or buying the car outright, as well as getting new or used vehicles. Great Lakes Honda City has been the place that I have chosen for over a decade. I've trusted them. My family has trusted them. And I want to thank Great Lakes Honda City, and I want to thank Honda's product in and of itself, because many years ago, some of you know this story, I arguably was saved by the way a Honda was actually made in protecting my life when I was hit by a drunk driver. So cannot thank Great Lakes Honda City enough. Make sure you find your way out there today. They are open Monday through Saturday for sales and service. You can get a sneak peek by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. With that being said, we are here with you up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they hop into the archive, and you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube, and more. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And of course, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', giving you the list of topics and guests for the day. Thomas Pascariello is going to be joining us first here of the league winners, and he'll be speaking with us on his story, his why, the decision to start his own business, and where it has taken him. We'll also get into college football, as that's how him and I met at the ACC kickoff, as well as the American kickoff, and he's been covering Syracuse's fall camp. So we'll get into all that with Thomas in just a moment. And then in hour number 2, in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Binghamton University Bearcats, we'll have the opportunity to welcome Paul Marco back to the show. You know, I absolutely love my conversations with Paul. They're so layered, and it gets me so revved up for he could coach any sport. It doesn't matter. I appreciate what he's done with men's soccer at Binghamton, but it's just the way he thinks, the way that he interacts with people, how he constantly challenges himself, and he's constantly learning. This is a conversation, folks, you don't want to miss. You could hate sports, you could hate soccer, you're going to love this conversation with Paul, so make sure you stay for that. And of course, the ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's to round out every Tuesday show. Today's topic is God's timing, because it's always better than ours. So with that being said, it's time to jump into a dream sequence and welcome Thomas Pascariello to the broadcast today. Thomas, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing very well. So you and I, like I said, we got to meet at the ACC kickoff, and had the opportunity to get to know each other a little bit there, and obviously over these last few weeks. So I love to Tarantino the thing, go back in time and share with everybody how you got to the ACC kickoff, just that journey that you've had to get to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I talked a little bit about this off air, of course, but, I actually started with the Jets through Gangrene Nation and then Jets X Factor. Did my company as a little side thing for an LLC for fantasy football originally. Originally, I did not cover college football. I was always a fan of the sport, but not to the extent I am now, I guess I would say. And then, with the way media is and life situations, I chose to dive in head first into the college football world. Actually, about last year, we first started about right after the Senior Bowl, and we started a 200 player prospect profile for the 2024 NFL draft, and had really great reviews on it. So I decided, why not give it an attempt. I've really good guys that came with me, and Brandon Pockris, who also worked with me at Jets X Factor. He's kind of like my right hand man there. He came over and helped. Brandon Hay, who's been there with me since 2021 when we started, the company as a fantasy site. He's been there as well. And I also have a friend of mine named Cody Henderson, who handles the stuff we do out west. And those three have been, vital to what we've been able to start and what we are continue to do.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, to go off, it originally was something you were doing on the side, and then you made it your main thing that you do, made your business your life. And, I can totally understand that. I mean, I was on ESPN 1080, the team down in Orlando, Florida, and I was doing the show one day a week on Sundays from like 10 to 11. And when I was working at Disney, I was constantly talking about the show. And I would just sit there and people like it's a 1 hour a week show. Like, you probably don't have to do a lot of prep and stuff, the mentality that you may not have to do a lot. I was like, I spent all week long writing things down, getting the most out of every minute. I couldn't wait for people to leave my window so I could write stuff. And 99.9% of the time during the day, people would talk to me about, because they would see Syracuse on my name tag, and they'd ask me about Syracuse and how are they going to be this year and all this stuff. A lot of basketball questions at the time. And, it was a part of everything I did. So I'm sure that you can parallel that when you want to do your own thing, you want to kind of just off the bat, right off the rip, you want to do it, but you kind of work yourself into it. You do this other stuff as you prepare yourself for it. And then you just take that jump, and you never have enough money, never have, enough time, but eventually you take the jump. Why did you decide to take the jump?
Man, that's a good question. I've always been kind of, I guess, unique in a way where I just always knew I didn't necessarily want to have like a standard 9 to 5. I always wanted to I always kind of wanted to do more, whether throughout in my entire life, I always tried to do other stuff. Before the football stuff, it was actually music, and then, ran out of money for that. And then I ended up going into the football world because it's always been my passion. I played through high school, through college. And now I have a daughter, and once I had my daughter, that was kind of when I signaled the switch from the fantasy football stuff to the college football side, because it's, I don't want to say my last hurrah per se, but it gave me that extra kick in the rear where it's like, hey, it's go time, and I wanted to make sure that I had something where something that she can see, something that she can see was grown from the beginning, and show that it's possible that if she wanted to follow her dream, she could follow in the same kind of blueprint. Didn't have to necessarily be in sports, but it could be in whatever she wants, as long as she sees like, hey, my dad did this, I can do this. And same thing with my friends, friends and family as well, because as I'm sure when you start your own company and go out doing your own things, there's a lot of naysayers, a lot of people who say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Are you like, there might not be any money in this? Are you passionate about it? But I've always loved football. I'm passionate about people, about making stories, about helping people try to get to the level they want to be. And college football really provides a lot of opportunity for that, especially when you follow guys from the recruiting processes from high school to college to those all-star games. And then, eventually their main goal, of course, is the NFL. So that's kind of been the driving point, is just helping people and telling their story, because, there's always a story to tell.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and it's funny, you and I haven't talked about this before, but people ask me when I'm wearing this ring, they'll say, is it a championship ring? And it's not, it's my college ring. But if you look closely at it, there is a feather pen that's on the green ring. Now, I went to school at Marywood University, they're green, but my favorite color is green, always been. And so the feather pen is a reminder to me that no matter what I do, because I'm also in that music world, so I said from music to screenwriting to comedy to broadcasting, it all starts with a pen and a piece of paper. So remember that you are a storyteller, and make sure that every single day you are taking care of those that you're telling the story about, like you're respecting them, you're looking after their story, you're building that trust, and that people are in safe hands. And I think in the media, hearing the word safe hands, you never hear those things, right? You typically just hear clicks. It's about the clicks. It's about the story. I told you off air that when a person approaches me and they talk about numbers, I'm like, listen, we don't live in the Matrix. Maybe to you we do. But, my world is not about, I'm going to talk to this guy because he's going to get me the most clicks. I'm going to ask him this question because he's going to flip out, and I'm going to get, Insta famous or whatever that stuff is. I don't even like saying, that just those words. It makes me feel like Paris Hilton if I say like Insta famous or something like that. But it's not about that to me. It's about telling the story and letting everybody know that they have a story to tell. Yeah, I've had people talk to me and say, Dan, I was a walk-on. Dan, I played 5 snaps at Syracuse. Like, why do you care about? I'm the long snapper. I'm the backup center. Like, why do you care? I said, did you go there? Yeah. Did you play on the team? Yeah. Okay, well, then you have a story to tell. And some of the best stories that I've ever heard from people are from the people that probably never get interviewed or never get asked because they weren't that Heisman Trophy winner and they weren't that, they didn't have a good season when they were playing and whatnot. And, maybe they played 2 years and stopped. But there's so many wonderful stories, and there's no one on this planet that doesn't have a story to tell. So I think you can understand, Thomas. I always say I'm a redheaded stepchild, so I'm looking for other ones. And, I want to tell those stories and hear what they have to say. And it's about the story to me more than it is about the clicks. And I never walk into something saying, well, this is going to get me a lot of... I walk into it saying, I wonder what they're going to tell me. I wonder what their why is. I want to know what their life's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I echo that to my employees too. I actually don't like using the word employees because they're more of my partners than employees. Something you've actually said to me, they don't work for me, they work with me. That's the kind of mentality that I see with my, the people who work for the league winners as well. And something I like to say is, obviously the star quarterbacks, the receivers, that a lot of people, that's like the fine dining meal for a lot of, media members. That's who they all want. And, they're great. Those people are great too. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of quarterbacks I talk to, receivers that I truly love. Some of those guys are amazing. But, what I like to have my group thrive in is, I like to call it the meat and potatoes, whether it's the offensive line, the defensive line, as you said, like the kickers, the punters, the long snappers. Everybody has a story, and you never know where they came from, how their story unfolded, and what's in that next chapter for them. Because some guy that, starts at a FCS could eventually get to the FBS, eventually get to the All-Star game, prove himself, and become an NFL player. Desmond Reed's a good example of that. FCS running back, first year at Pitt, really takes off, and now he's projected to be one of the best in the class. And I don't think a lot of people expected that from him. So it's not that we're trying to necessarily dig for those type of stories, because obviously, we want everybody to be successful. It's more so we want everybody to be able to tell their story because they might not have the opportunity to do so otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you weren't asking Fran about the quarterback yesterday, what were you doing? I mean, but I told you that. I mean, I said, listen, going into this thing, I'm confident to put money down in Vegas that it was going to be quarterback, something, quarterback, something, the end. And, that's pretty much what it was. And I wanted to, obviously continue to build that relationship with Fran and to talk about that position. But like I told you, I said, I didn't want to know how did this guy beat this guy, because I don't think that's, again, people forget. They treat them like horses, right? And I care about animals, I care about people, but it's like, who won the race? And it's, if someone won the race, somebody lost the race. And I don't want to have a conversation about why is Steve so much better than Ricky. I wanted to have a conversation of why Steve. What is it about him? And, when he spoke about, and when he answered my question, he said, he is the type of guy who builds a relationship with everyone on the team. There's things like that you don't forget because it speaks to the character of the man. And so I'd love to get your thoughts now that we know who the starting quarterback is, and that's Steve Angeli for Syracuse, how you feel as we step forward, and if we hit the mark that you had in Vegas, the over-under of whatever it was, 10 questions about the quarterback yesterday.
Yeah, so for most coaching decisions and that things of that nature, I like to defer to the staff. I always hope that they make the right decision. They see the guys inside and out. Yeah. I personally assumed once they brought Angeli in and once Ricky missed that spring game, that something was going to happen. There was going to be some type of competition in place when Ricky missed that spring game. They brought in Angeli. He's got experience. Did a good job in the start that he had in the CFP. And so that's a guy who can not only just command the offense, but as Fran alluded to, he's a great guy. Off the field, he wants to make relationships with people. I think that's incredibly important. Not just at, for a football level, but just as an overall person. I think that's incredibly important. Not to say that Ricky hasn't done that too, because we have heard stories of Ricky doing that as well, especially with, Jonte and Fran's son. I know that they were doing some, route work off the field and stuff like that. But Steve, if you have an older guy and, he's a guy that's competent and can do the job, I like to give those guys a chance to prove me wrong, because you have Ricky, who's a younger guy who you could still have time with even after this year. So if things go off the rail with Steve, you do have an option that can give you longevity in the future. Whereas if Ricky started and he did end up stumbling pretty badly, one, it could just destroy his confidence before it begins, especially with a season that Syracuse has this year, and two, if he ended up getting benched, there's the always the case of potentially transferring out, which people don't want to see. I know Fran doesn't want to see that. That's not why he made the decision. But those are always things out of the back of coaches' minds, where I can understand why he went with Angeli first.
Yeah, and a good point there, and what you said, and I've thought about that too. Ricky has time. Steve doesn't have as much time as Ricky has, and so knowing that, and if he's ready, let him go, give him an opportunity. He obviously does have some more. I believe Steve's got 2 seasons and Ricky's got 3. So, knowing that, there is the opportunity for both of these guys to grow together, and you hope that they do. I mean, in the world of I'm not playing, so I'm leaving, you hope that doesn't end up being the case. But it is an exciting time for Syracuse football. I did put a poll up today, so I'm going to ask you this, because you and I were talking about our predictions, and I put my prediction out before the quarterback was even named. But how many wins do you believe Syracuse football will have this season? On X, you can vote right now at CallDT. That's CALLDT. Do you believe they will have less than 5, 6, right at the equator line, more than 6, or 8 or more is the poll that's up there right now. I know Syracuse has a gauntlet. They're at SMU, they're at Miami, they're at Clemson, they're at Notre Dame. They're neutral ground to start the season in Georgia against Tennessee at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They have to go to Georgia Tech as well. Still one of my favorite things from ACC kickoff, Haynes King, the quarterback of Georgia Tech, saying, and it's to hell with Georgia. Still one of my favorite things. No offense to Georgia at all. It's just when that rivalry is alive on a stage in July, when the game's not going to be played until the end of the season, like that, I live for that stuff. When he's like, it's to hell with Georgia, and just the whole Brent Key and everybody there, it was like, we know who we are, we know what we're after. So looking at Syracuse's schedule, and it was in Tortora and Elford, Isaac and I both said 8-4. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm not that far off. I have them at 7-5, and that's been met with some mixed reactions. Because I one of the games I do have Syracuse winning is that week 1 game at the neutral site, which kind of hard to call it neutral. It's a little bit less than 4 hours away from Knoxville, so I'm sure that place is going to be packed with Tennessee fans. But I do have them going 7-5. I mean, there's this thing that kind of, I don't want to necessarily say it annoys me, but everyone's like, hey, I believe in Fran Brown and the message that he's saying, and I love what he's doing at Syracuse. And then they say that, and then for this upcoming season, they have them missing a bowl game, or missing 6 wins, or so. If the schedule's tough, but if the coach is doing the right things and he has the right people in place, it's a young Syracuse team. Don't get me wrong. But if, the right people in place, the right players in place, the right personnel, staff, and they're doing everything that they're doing, like I think Fran and the staff are going really hard on the players in practice. I think it was last week where they had a practice that ended up running 2 hours later than they should have. Obviously, that stuff happens in football, but it's good to see it happening with Syracuse, knowing the schedule that they have this year. I think that, all the people that say they love Fran and say they love Syracuse, but give them less than 6 wins, it's kind of hard to say that you feel that way when you're predicting something else. And actually, Fran alluded to that at the presser yesterday, too.
Yeah, I mean, he fully knows where people have him and where things are at. And he says it, and he echoed it yesterday, but it's like, y'all are the experts, right? Like, you guys know better than me. So I definitely am looking forward to this season and looking forward to seeing what this team can do. And I will give a shout out to Notre Dame fans, as they have flooded in about my videos with Steve Angeli. One person, then another found it. And however you found it, I thank you. I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all subscribe and be a part of it. And all the messages I was seeing. Good luck, Steve. We love you, Steve. Hoping the best for Angeli. Can't believe we let him go. Should be our quarterback. You guys got a good one. Go Orange. And what I definitely laughed at but can appreciate is there was the echoing of, we hope you go 11-1 because they play Notre Dame this year. So I just want to give a shout out to the Notre Dame fans and the love that they've shown. Obviously, Steve, when you talk about building relationships and being connected to people, he has left such an impression there that the Notre Dame fans have shown him an outpouring of love, even though he's not there anymore. So with that being said, we will take a step aside for a fast break. Thomas is going to stay here with me, tell me his why, which we've kind of alluded to, and then we'll jump deeper into college football and what the league winners are covering across the country. We'll get into that here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios right after this. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge, and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item, available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. I am here with Thomas Pascariello, the owner of the League Winners, speaking on his journey, his why, and college football this morning where sports meets life. We appreciate you being with us. So let's jump right into that, Thomas, your why. We've discussed a little what's important to us and how you and I have paralleled, but what is your why? That day-to-day that you make sure no matter what you're doing or who you're talking to, this is what you're about.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but it really is, man. The birth of my daughter kind of opened, I don't want to say it opened my eyes per se, but it really changed my mindset on a lot of things. I used to be a lot, pretty happy-go-lucky on a lot of stuff, kind of go with the flow a little bit. I wasn't as assertive as I probably should have been. I didn't necessarily chase the dreams and stuff that I in the form that I really wanted to in the past. And then just kind of seeing, having that transformation, just being, just a guy to a father, really kind of helped me mature in ways that I really needed it. I really needed that kick in the butt. And then it just got me thinking about, well, hey, it's not just, what I want to do for my daughter, it's what I want to do for other people, not just the athletes, but the people who work with me and under me. And then, of course, the athletes themselves. I think that we're put here to help people, whether that in the best of our ability to whatever we can do. And if there's something that I can offer for not just myself, because to be perfectly honest with you, Dan, I don't care too much about the money. I don't care too much about fame. I don't care too much about that. At the end of the day, I just want to be a guy. I just want to be a good guy. I want to be a guy that can help people. I want to be a guy that can, be a support system for people, to be somebody who can help them with what they want to do. I want to be the voice for people who don't necessarily have a voice, whether that is with athletes or whether that is with, people in my company. For example, a lot of people in my company, they didn't, some of them don't have journalism degrees. Some of them didn't have writing experience. I mentioned Cody Henderson before, the guy who does the stuff for me out west. he had zero experience. Now he's a teacher, but when he started with me, he had no written experience or anything. Ended up, becoming a beat reporter for the California Golden Bears. Now he has guys on there. He's in a leadership position in my company, and just seeing that type of growth and seeing what those people are able to do when they're giving an opportunity, and how it makes me feel helping provide that opportunity to them. It really just, it warms my heart, and it's that feeling of giving that I just kind of want to spill over, not just into, my day-to-day life, but the stuff I do for work too.
Yeah, like you said, we're put on this earth to help people. We're put on this earth to give. And that's not something that everybody sees, but, I say, if you come to this earth, God puts you here, you take care of yourself, and you die, then whatever you've done dies with you. Yeah. But if you help other people and you pay it forward, then when you die, you leave a ripple effect. And you hope that ripple effect exists. That I looked at something when we were on the fast break, and Rich Eisen has not done a Sports Center broadcast in forever. And he just did one, and I guess he pointed next to him or said something about the fact, like, the guy that's supposed to be here with me isn't here. And I grew up on Stuart Scott and Rich Eisen, my favorite tandem for Sports Center, the reason why I wanted to be on Sports Center. And they don't do it like it's not done like they did it. It's not the same anymore. It's like regurgitated, choreographed information. And like back then, it was Stu being Stu and Rich being Rich, and their friendship evolving and challenging each other and not being afraid to be who they are. And not that there's not people like that at ESPN now. It feels different. And I got to sit behind the desk, and I was there at ESPN the weekend. I did Dream Job. Al Jaffe, who used to hire and fire for ESPN, he was there as one of my judges. Charles Tillman in the NFL at the time, and Vernon Davis. And they were all my judges. We were in front of an audience, and I sat behind that desk. And so, I got to do that. And that day was an amazing day. And I'll never forget that day. And they say, that I won it that day, whatever. But the more important thing to me was what Charles said to me, what Vernon said to me, what Al Jaffe said. And I look back at my life growing up and Stuart Scott. And I love that Rich Eisen pays tribute to him, because I told you off air yesterday, I think I told you that I know I said it recently, that I actually did a show about Stuart Scott, and I said the mentor that never knew he was my mentor. And to have Rich talk about that, like you said, it's about the people, it's about paying it forward. Stuart Scott, I can't tell you how many years Stuart Scott hasn't been on this planet, but he's never not been on this planet. Like, he continues to affect people's lives. He is constantly spoken about. His face. And that is because what we're talking about here this morning, he sent a ripple effect through the world of helping people, being good to people, and being unapologetically you in a respectful way, that he will last forever. And I want Stu to know that up in heaven, like, every time I go to the mic and I'm unafraid to say something that somebody might think is corny or stupid or to play on words or whatever, like, when I step to that mic, I'm cooler than the other side of the pillow. So, it's interesting today that Rich Eisen pays tribute to Stuart Scott when you talk about helping other people.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like a lost, I guess I would say lost art in terms of media, because not a lot of people want to take, a lot of people just don't want to take people under their wing. I mean, I know we see some intern stuff for like collegiate, journalism programs that they have. They'll send their kids to the games, and that's great. But normally, you don't necessarily see a lot of older or more mature broadcasters, journalists trying to take people under the wing, trying to be not just a mentor, but somebody that, just an average Joe person can look up to, somebody that other people can look up to. It's always I don't know if it's the way that things are today, but there's just a lot of me. Not just in the media, but just in life in general nowadays. It kind of seems that way, where my mentality has always been, instead of me, you just flip that M upside down, and it become, reverse it, and it becomes we, because we are and I say this to my guys a lot, like, we are a team, we are together. Like, I want, everything is not just about me. When one person has success, we all have success. And I think that if a lot of people had that mentality, it would just be a lot more, just a better environment, not just for the young people in it, but for the older people. And maybe some of the older journalists and older people in general wouldn't be as hardened by what has happened. And maybe they'd be more open to certain things. So I really think just being inclusive, not just for the sake of inclusivity, just being inclusive because it's the right thing to do. I think it would go a long way.
Right. And you talk about getting to people that may have become, hardened through this. And it just made me think of the song, "If Today You Hear My Voice, Harden Not Your Hearts." So,
Yeah.
What God says to us. So, to the people asking that don't know, how would you describe the league winners?
Yeah, so at first, man, it really just became like your standard beat writing company. We started with 2 schools last year, with Florida Atlantic, shout out to Catherine McCormick, and California Golden Bears, shout out to Kyle and Keeler McJunkin. And then we've kind of grown a lot. So, I already touched upon a bit, like, we like to tell stories. We like to talk to recruits and kids in high school and stuff and kind of follow their story. But we've also kind of grown and kind of evolved in a way where we do a lot of beat writing stuff, obviously, but now we've kind of worked with as player liaisons and consultants, trying to help kids from right now, kids overseas and internationally who still have college eligibility, trying to get those guys into college football programs. And then, for guys that we do cover in college, for the schools that we do cover, we kind of stick with them as they go into their NFL journey. For example, Teddy Buchanan from California, formerly UC Davis. He's another great story. FCS kid who ends up being P4 and then drafted in the 4th round to the Baltimore Ravens. We helped him, get meet and greet deals after he was drafted. So we still work with a lot of these guys even after they leave college. So we're kind of like a just a weird entity right now, where it's like we do the beat writing, we do the reporting, we follow the recruiting aspects for the not just the schools we cover, but just in general.
Yeah.
And then we work on the player liaison / consulting bit as well, where we try to it's interesting because Fran Brown echoes like, hey, for alumni who leave the school, we want to make sure they have a job after, I think, what do you say, like a 6-month point or something along those lines, 30-day point it might have been. We kind of do the same thing. We like to keep tabs on players, and say, for example, Kazir Brown's a good example from Florida Atlantic. Transferred from Maine, Florida Atlantic. He ended up being an undrafted free agent for Green Bay, and we've been pushing that forever, helping him. He credits us for a lot of the exposure that he got. So as long as I guess, to make a long-winded answer a little bit shorter, we are just we are an entity that really tries to create maximum exposure for the players, and personally, from my perspective, the players and the people that work with me, I want those people to gain as much exposure as they can as well, because it's not, like I said, it's not me. It's one hand's the players, one hand's the league winner employees, and I just want those guys to really find their own spotlight and find their way.
Yeah, creating opportunity, exposure, and positive spotlights, positive connection with people is what the league winners is bringing to us here, and I appreciate it so very much. Before we jump into something called Rapid Fire, where you and I get to put each other on the hot seat and talk about any subject in the world, including dreams, we have the opportunity to before that stay with college football, I should say, for a second here. And I know you work with a bunch of different schools across the country. How do you pinpoint and pick what schools that you end up working with?
So A lot of it is actually like relationship based. You know, a lot of the schools in the American and the ACC that we start to work with now, I've had relationships with them through other means in the past, and just that's kind of the unheralded aspect of journalism, I guess. Is obviously you want, you know, create stories for the readers, you work with the players, but the administrative side and the communication side kind of gets lost in the wind when that at times can be the most important part. You know, a lot of times you won't find access to certain schools unless you have relationships with the people in power to give you that yes or no. So I always, what I personally try to do is try to find programs that I like the direction that they're going in. I like the people that are there, and I want to work with them. If they're good-hearted people, and at the end of the day, like their message resonates with the message that we want to, you know, give out, that's kind of who I'll work with. And you know, there's some exceptions to the rule based on location of some of my writers, but we always tend to go with, you know, if there's a bigger program or a smaller program, that doesn't matter. It matters at the people who are there. And I think that's truly important to me.
Yeah, you know, like you said, it's about building relationships. When people say, you know, like, why did you choose this, or why did you choose that, or why do you do so much with that, or, you know, you live in, you know, Syracuse, New York, but you're out covering these teams and all these different nooks and crannies. Why? And I always say, why not? You know, I mean, when the ACC kickoff and the American kickoff, I said, you know, you're there with 31 teams. Okay, so who are you covering? What'd I just say? If there's 31 people in the building, that 31 teams in the building, that's what we're doing. And, you know, to make sure, and with everything that we've done, there were certain things we weren't able to work into the schedule. And I keep on that school saying like, hey, I want to make sure that we include them in our preview. So, you know, I'm not one of those people where it's like, we got 13 out of 14, good enough. It's like, no, let's get that 14th school in. Let's make sure we talk with that coach. Let's make sure, you know, we continue to build that relationship. And those are things that matter to me. You know, Philip Montgomery, who used to be the head coach of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, we still keep in touch to this day. Now he's working in the ACC, and he's got a job on one of the staffs. And, you know, hearing a coach talk about him at the podium, I shot him a text and was just like, hey, man, how you been? You know, this and that. And, you know, that love is there. And it comes right back, and those conversations continue to happen. I actually owe you a call, Philip, so please don't be mad at me. So, but with that being said, we're going to jump into rapid fire. And Thomas and I can ask each other any topic, anything in the world. Doesn't have to be sports related. And there's no prep for this. So, Thomas, you get to ask me the first question. What do you got?
Favorite comic book character?
Oh, man. It's the one movie that I was in. Spider-Man. Always. Got to be in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 as an extra and made it on camera. So I will, I mean, Spider-Man he's the best. And his quote, with great power comes great responsibility, from Uncle Ben or Aunt May, depending on the story, you know, that sticks with me. You know, the more you're out, I mean, when I turn this microphone on, it is always in my mind that I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to report the facts, to be honest, to know what I'm talking about, to be respectful, to honor God, whether people like it or not. You know, this microphone does not go on and it's like, hey, let's just see what the hell happens. Like, there is a weight to this. And I don't think people fully understand what that means necessarily. And so I would say with great power comes great responsibility. So I'm going to say Spider-Man. My question back to you, Thomas. If you turned into a superhero today, what superhero would you turn into? What superhero would you make me? You can't make me Spider-Man because I just told you. So you're going to be somebody. I'm going to be somebody. Pick your character. Pick my character that we literally morph into today. And what city are we protecting?
Oh, man, that's tough. Ideally, I'd go Spider-Man because he is my favorite superhero. So when you saying that was actually pretty funny. I do have a number 2, though, I guess. But for the sake of this exercise, I would, I'd go Batman Robin, man. Okay. Batman Robin, a little dynamic duo action in there. Or actually, you know what? No, Batman Superman. Let's go Batman Superman. And instead of battling together, we're just, we're saving New York, man.
All right. Well, if y'all have been in New York lately, it needs some help. So there was Gotham City was supposed to be a darker take on New York City. Now I think Gotham City would be like having tea as opposed to New York City right now. So what's your second question for me?
What's your favorite broadcasting memory?
Man. Probably step into the mic in college when I got the first opportunity. My career started November 2003. I was doing laundry at Madonna Hall, where I lived at Marywood University. And I had that collapsible thing that we all had, the red or blue, right? You had the collapsible hamper. I had it on the top of the thing. I was putting my last quarter into the washer, got a phone call from Brandon Smith. He said, "Hey, Dan, I know that, you and I talked about that you want to commentate, you wanted to do this. The guy that's supposed to do the games isn't here right now, and quite frankly, we don't know, like, if what he's going to be, down, like what his schedule is going to be down the road. Could you come to the game?" I said, "When?" He said, "Right now." I left my clothes. To this day, I don't know where the clothes were. I don't know if somebody's wearing them today. I mean, if you are, great. But I ran. I had 12 minutes. I ran from Madonna Hall to the gym, got in there, didn't have any pronunciation, didn't know who was on the team, nothing. Sat down, did a game by myself, and that was the start of my career. And to this day, one of the hardest things I ever had to do was to get up from that table, take off that headset, and give MU courtside to somebody else because it's meant to be there for students. And I never wanted to leave it. So I would say the first moment, the moment where one of my friends said, "Hey, you told me you wanted to do this. Here's your shot."
I love that.
Thank you. My question, I want to know from you your favorite moment in sports journalism on your side up to this point.
Man, favorite. That's tough. That is tough. I guess I'd have to kind of go with the first game that we did last year. We did me and Brandon Pockris, who I mentioned earlier in the show. Me and him drove 12 plus hours to go to Michigan State for Florida Atlantic at Michigan State, and just seeing the environment, being in that zone, because I had a couple year layoff from doing the jet stuff up until this point. So just seeing that, and just the amount of recognition is not the word I want to use, just amount of like love and support that we had from friends, family, everybody who was like, "Hey, they're actually doing this." That never gets old to me. That experience, just going on the road too. I would say every road trip that I have where it's generally me and one of my reporters or friends, and we're going to these games and having fun. I think the road trip memories are truly the best.
I'll never forget driving from the American Kickoff when it used to be in Rhode Island to the ACC, and the 16-hour drive with my intern JT Molo, and just that whole trip was so much fun. And honestly, all the years that I've been blessed to do the American and the ACC and whatever it is out there, that's the one I remember because it was the road trip. It was, and so I can respect that. What's your final one for me?
Ooh, final one. If you had to stop broadcasting today, what would you be doing?
Man. Well, I'm never stopping unless God tells me to. That's number one. Number two is, to answer your question, I'd probably screenwriting or comedy. I mean, my comedy has always been with me. I love making people laugh, and I love challenging myself. I don't care what your background is, your age, your whatever, man, woman, whatever you came into the room with. Like, I want you to leave the room wiping tears from your eyes going like, that dude, like, he got me. And I love the opportunity to try and get somebody in. And I do say things. I will definitely say things. I told you, I got asked a question in a situation of something that I didn't trust. And it was like, well, how do you get a good interview? And I said, you talk to people and you ask questions. But if somebody that knows me was around me in that situation, they'd be like, he just told you without telling you, like, step away. But I love making people laugh. I love having fun. I ad-lib in the moment, and it's very just like off the rip, whatever. I always say God throws a bunch of stuff at me, and then he goes, okay, what do you got? Like, God he's the one that's like literally in the back of the room at an improv, and he's just throwing me out like names and situations, and he's like, go. And so that's how my life has been. And yeah, I like making people laugh, so I'd probably do a little bit more with that. My question back to you. Okay, let's stay with comedy. Do I want to stay with comedy or I want to do something else? Now I want to do something else. Okay, so you have your daughter. You're going to take her on a trip. I want to know, it's a 3-part question. You got to go somewhere you've never been. So where are you taking your daughter? You can take one person that you know, and you could take one celebrity.
Oh man, okay, that's tough. Shoot. I'd probably take her to, I think they call it Disneyland, because is Disney World in Orlando, and Disneyland is in California.
Yeah.
So I'd take her to Disneyland because she is a massive Disney fan already. Despite sorry, what was the second part of the question?
So you could take one person you know and then one celebrity.
I guess I would do her mother the solid and take her, so a nice little family outing. And I guess celebrity, I mean, would Goofy count as a celebrity?
Yeah.
Because I would probably go Goofy because she, for whatever reason, out of all the Mickey Mouse characters, she just is obsessed with Goofy. One of her, like, she knows Mickey and Minnie and all those guys, but she is obsessed with Goofy. Like, she'll watch the Goofy movie, which is intended for, like, older kids, and she is just hooked in it, man. She, every time she sees him, she's like, Goofy. So I love that. Would love to make her happy and just make her day by encompassing all of Disney with Goofy with her, and then her mother for a nice family moment. So I think that's probably what I would do.
Oh, very kind of you to bring it all together. And I can appreciate Goofy, as the dogs are the best when it comes to Disney. So shout out. And what's your daughter's first name? Tia. So shout out to Tia. Make this be a time capsule that Dad brings you to Disney, and that you get to hang out with Goofy and have a good time. And Tia, I want you to know this, since you like the Goofy movie and I do too. So never saw Max at Walt Disney World. He was never around. And I was having breakfast at the Polynesian, and Goofy was there. And I said to Goofy, I go, where's your son? I said, I never get to see Max. And he brings me over to the window, and he points to the Grand Floridian from the Polynesian, and he points over there, and he says he's sleeping. He's like, he's over there and he's sleeping right now. And it was one of a memory I'll never forget of a character that I loved growing up telling me, like, hey, yeah, my son's real and he's right over there. And so moments like that, Tia, I hope you get to have those, and I know you will, because God is great. So with that being said, Thomas Pascariello here with us. Check out the league winners. Thomas, let them know how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, of course. You can find me on X / Twitter at TommyCFB. Used to be longer than that, made it nice and short. You can also follow the company name at League Winners CF for college football. Twitter had a clarification, or a cleric interview, error, where they suspended our main account for some weird reason. A credit card change ended up hitting that. But you can also follow us on Instagram at the League Winners, where we have player interviews, we have game stuff and highlights and everything of that nature.
So make sure you check out the League Winners today, Thomas Pascariello and the team with the League Winners. And Thomas, I will see you shortly. I hope you have an awesome day, and we will talk soon. But thank you for your why, and for going out there and paying it forward and wanting to send a ripple effect through this world that will make it a better place. I appreciate it more than I could tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Dan. It's great talking to you as always, and I do appreciate the opportunity.
All right, man. Well, listen, take care, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yes, sir.
See you. That coming from Thomas Pascariello one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take a quick step aside here. The Binghamton Bearcats are up next in our Bearcat Breakroom. You know, in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University, we have the opportunity to share the stories of the Bearcats, and Paul Marco is back on the broadcast right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Find your way over to GG Cards and Breaks Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5. They just got a bunch of Buffalo Bills cards in graded, so make sure you get over there, and they just opened. So if you get there before me, make sure you just leave something there for me. Don't be too greedy. So head over to GG Cards and Breaks today. We appreciate everybody that is supporting local and supporting this wonderful business in our community with hockey, soccer, basketball, baseball, football, and more, including Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Pokemon. You will find, while supplies last, a plethora of cards over at GG Cards and Breaks that get you closer to the players that you love, the teams that you love, as well as the games that you love to play. So we appreciate you for going over there, being a big kid every single day, and we look forward to seeing you this week over at GG Cards and Breaks on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. With that being said, here on the broadcast, it is my honor and my pleasure to have the gentleman that is going to be on the other side of this screen here with me, and that is none other than Mr. Paul Marco joining me here this morning. And every time that I get to speak with Paul, I get to see the awesome scarves that are over his shoulder, which I always love to see that, the story of their evolution and as they continue to grow over time as well. So we're here with Paul Marco, Bearcat Breakroom, in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University. We're here with the men's soccer head coach heading into the 2025 season. Paul, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
I'm doing very well. And, I checked my messages, Paul, and I'm going to stay to this because we always have to. The last thing that you said to me on text message before coming on today was ... lunch with an exclamation point. So we do have to get our meal together and we need to do it soon. And I definitely look forward to breaking some bread with you. And I did preface this conversation by saying that I always love the layers. Speaking of food, let's go to a lasagna. The layers of our conversation that go far beyond simply kicking a ball into a net. There's so many things to what we talk about and why we talk about it. And I give you all the credit for that because of how you break things down and your care of always wanting to learn, always wanting to grow as a human being. So I want to start there in why. why continue to challenge yourself? Some people are like, hey, I got enough information. I read books when they made me in school. I don't have to read them anymore. I don't have to do any of this stuff. Like, I'm smart enough. I'm good enough. I know I'm right. No one's going to tell me I'm wrong. There's people that live in that world of, I've gained my knowledge and that's enough. You're constantly willing to grow and learn and challenge yourself. And it seems like you're just a sponge for knowledge and wisdom. So why continue to learn and grow when some people stand still?
I don't know. I don't like to stand still. Maybe I don't like to sit still. I think that you have to evolve because things change. The laws of the game change. That means that as laws change, for instance, the laws that allowed now players to be inside the 18 to play the ball on set pieces, on goal kicks, made the space bigger now that you have to play in, or allowed you to play now in a bigger space. That allowed now a tactical change in build-up play, if you chose. You could still smash the ball long if you choose to. I think that I understand the game of soccer is, as much as it does evolve, we're really not reinventing the wheel. So as things fade out of style, sometimes they slide back in. We've probably seen two strikers more in the last 4 years, 5 years than we did in the last 10 years. Two strikers playing centrally up front. I think that we see more 3-back systems now / 5-backs. It's sexy now to play in a 3-6-1, meaning 3 central defenders, usually 2 holding midfield players, 2 attacking midfield players, 2 wide players. So you play with a box kind of in midfield, and then 1 striker, 1 9. What's interesting is as the game has evolved, it used to be where we would get systems of play from World Cups, from European Championships, from the big events, new things would come out. So in '94, when we hosted the last World Cup, the last time the U.S. hosted, '94, Brazil wins the World Cup. They play in a 4-4-2 zonally. Prior to that, most people were playing in a 3-back system with a sweeper and 2-man markers. Most teams played with 2 up front. Because of that, the fullbacks now get on the ball a little bit more because you played with 2 strikers and now 2 fullbacks are on a little bit more time and space. So they're now advancing with the ball. Out of that, you now see 3 players play up front to combat the 4 bringing the ball forward. So I think that those evolutions, but in '98, we see 3 strikers. But what people don't realize is in '98, the U.S. played in a 3-back. They played in a 3-6-1 under Steve Sampson, and we didn't win. We actually went out in 3. I remember where I was when we lost the Iran game. I was in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, watching the game in a little pub. And if the U.S. had won the World Cup that year in '98, more teams would have played in a 3-6-1 because that was the flavor of the winners, right? So I think that now we're seeing more come out of club soccer than we are out of national team soccer. But, the way the Barcelona has played over the last years with tiki-taka, more build-up play. Pep is at Man City now. They do it. But, there's a lot of teams that play the way Real Madrid play because, they're excellent in all 4 phases of the game. Hopefully Man United can show this year that we're good in all 4 phases of the game, but we will see.
I find it makes perfect sense to say, you follow the lead of the champion, right? And what you're talking about here. And that an easy way to get clubs to change what they're doing and how they're scheming is to show them a way that they don't do and show them how successful that way has been. As you evolve over time and you're at Binghamton, when you're constantly watching film and paying attention to what's going on overseas as well as here, how do you make a decision based on, what is it based on when you're saying, okay, I'm going to try this a little bit differently? Like, obviously, a great coach is going to take their personnel and say, well, I want to play this scheme, but my personnel really is going to be better off at this scheme. So maybe I'm going to adjust a little bit here because of the personnel that I have. But when you're figuring out year to year as the game is evolving what you're going to do, where do you look? Where are you focusing your attention? I don't want you to give away your trade secrets, Paul. I'm trying to protect you here. But some of the avenues that you do take of constantly learning, like you're saying, not sitting still, where are you looking to get that inspiration to adjust?
So I do a lot of coaching education.
Yeah.
I teach coaching courses. I'm responsible now for the development of some of these courses. So I have a good network of friends who enjoy the game as much as I do. We talk about the game a lot. From those conversations comes insight, perspective. But I also, when I watch the game, even as a fan, I don't watch it through a fan lens. I'm now always watching through I get enjoyment out of watching through analyzing. So as I'm watching what's going on, I'm watching how things happened, why things happened, where and when it happened. Always constantly, I'm a big fan of the or do what. So you having things in mind that things happen in the game and how they should go. The ball should get played wide to get behind the opponent, but all of a sudden it's gone someplace else, and that's the or do what. And that intrigues me. So I think that keeps me on the edge of my seat a little bit.
Yeah, and when you see the game changing, and I know you made mention of certain things, and rules that you have to be prepared for, do you like where the game is going in the adjustments that have been made to rules and guidelines and parameters? Obviously, when something changes on the field, you as a coach have to scheme for it and be prepared for it. If there's bigger spacing, then you obviously have to learn how to defend that spacing or take advantage of it offensively. If the spacing condenses, then it's okay, what can I do in tighter situations? So where do you feel like the game is going as far as the rules that are happening, and is it good for the sport, what we've been seeing?
I think the sport right now is perhaps at an all-time high. I think the quality of the players is very good. In college coaching, I think the coaching is very good. I think the coaches have done a very good job. Everybody seems well prepared for games. Everybody has a good game plan. They have a good idea of what the opponent's going to try to do because you study and you are trying to prepare your players the best that you can. I think if I had a area that I would like to see us do better in, it would be the consistency of the refereeing within whatever the laws of the game are that you're playing in. Yeah. So, for instance, I watched this past weekend, there are new laws of the game for the goalkeeper, and a new 8-second rule has been put in. Well, in one game, it was called right away. In another game, the delaying of the goalkeeper from playing was cautioned. Let me rephrase that. Was warned. Two different players were warned. I felt a caution was probably should have been given. In another game, a caution is given. So I think for me, it would just be the consistency of how the laws are interpreted by the referee and how they're then called. I would like to see more consistency in that.
Yeah, and I think that's always something that we look to, right, is that there is human error with human decision making, but that you want to see consistency throughout. You want that you don't want there to be a third team on the field, essentially.
At least when it's black and white.
Yeah.
In the law that you're interpreting. So if I obstruct a goalkeeper, if I interfere with a goalkeeper trying to put the ball back in play, that is a cautionable offense. That should be cautioned. Especially after you warned the team once, the next time it happens, then it should be cautioned. I think that those are simple things. The contact in the sport, I was going to use the word violent, but it's not violent. It's just competitiveness. But the contact that happens in the game, I think there are some games where some referees let a lot of contact happen, and some referees really call the foul on the very first contact. And I think for me, the competitiveness of it, that is a challenge for the players for them to interpret and play accordingly, game to game, if that is called differently from one game to the next.
Yeah, and when you have that, because I've watched soccer matches before where you see that there's you can barely touch each other, right? You can barely go near each other.
Correct.
You're going to kick you're like your foot's going right toward the ball, and as you're doing that, I mean, you have a human body, right? You can't like detach your arms from your body when you're kicking the ball, and so maybe your arm, when you're trying to put all that force into it, your arm goes out and you hit their arm, and okay, well, we're going to call that. But then there's other times where you can be so physical and so entrenched, and you're up against somebody and there's nothing being called. So like you said, it's up to the players to kind of understand how the game is being called. But what do you do as a coach and a leader with your staff to get your players prepared for two different types of games, right? Because their talent is their talent, but you might have somebody as a part of their talent. They're a really physical player. They're really good at winning those balls that are in tight spaces. They're good at not fouling somebody, but putting themselves in a situation where they're going to challenge you. And one of the best parts of their game is their physicality, their strength, and their decision-making in those tight spaces. So how do you train and teach if a game is being so ticky-tack and you can barely do anything? What do you do with those players that are so good at being physical?
I think two things. One is you have to respond to things, right? So the response of how the game is being called, once you have a notion of how the game is being called from the referee, you then have to respond accordingly to it. So we do try to teach the players to respond to ups and downs and ebbs and flows in the game, and the way something is being called, good things, bad things. We want our energy to go up as a response to something that's bad. So if something, we make a poor decision, we make a poor touch, whatever those down moments are, we want to have a positive response to those. I think the description that you're giving is if, we have a very physical type player and the game is being called, that would limit that player's performance to be at the best that they could.
Yeah.
I would encourage that player to be true to who they are and keep fighting through, but no, you can't be late on anything. You can't now be a little bit later than you might be on a tackle. You have to be, you can't give something after the play that you might give, you talk about that contact, that follow through type thing. But I would always want the players to play to their strength, and then adjust accordingly to still continue to try to play to your strength.
And I can appreciate that. Like you said, be who you are, just understand to pick your places, to be smart in what you're doing.
And then if they can't do that, Dan, right? Like if they can't make those adjustments, then I get to make an adjustment by substituting them. Right.
Which is my other thought, yes. So Paul Marco here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University, this Bearcat Breakroom with the Binghamton men's soccer head coach leading the team into the 2025 season. When you're on the sideline, you and I have never talked about this before, what is going through your head typically in a game? Because the game is long, right? That clock continues to run. There's moments where you're fighting back and forth and it's 0-0 and there's 5 more minutes to play that we're seeing on the board here. So when you're standing on the sideline, are you, have you gotten to a point where your mind is clear and you're just seeing with your eyes? You got a blank sheet of paper here, and as a coach, you're kind of like got the Sharpie drawn on that paper while the game's going on. Is there something you're thinking about? Like, how are you experiencing the game on the sideline? Because we always look at the coach, what's the coach saying, how's the coach's body language, but we never talk about the coach's mind on the sideline. So what is going through your head?
Well, the first thing is, is the game plan that we put in effective? And that's twofold. One, is it effective by what we're doing? Are we doing the things that we said we were going to try to do in the areas of the field we said we were going to do them? So that's on us. That's 100% in our control.
Yeah.
And then the unknown is, although we prepare for the opponent, we can't guarantee that what happened in the past is what they'll do in the future. They all have tendencies. However, they could give you a new wrinkle. And are we prepared for that new wrinkle? So we are preparing for a team to come out in a 4-back system and they show up in a 3-back system. Are our guys prepared for how they now might try to advance the ball? They've constantly played over the opponents in the past, and now they're trying to play around us or through us. Are we prepared to deal with those? So we tend to teach more about the principles of the game and specific players, opponents that we might play against, what their tendencies are. And then with that, that's going through my mind. And then how are we performing individually, collectively, and perhaps in some team areas? So the compactness of the team, is it tight across the field? Is it tight vertically when we're defending? We have key words that we use in the 4 phases of the game. Are those key words coming out? We want our players in possession to be purposeful with the ball. So are we being purposeful with the ball? When we're defending, we want to be relentless. So if we see the team is not on the edge of their seat when we're defending, are we not ready to deal with the space behind us? Are we not ready to deal with the space in front of us? There's key words for the moments that we lose the ball. There's key moments for the moment we win the ball. So the moment we win the ball, we want to retain the ball. If we can't retain the ball the moment we win the ball, then that's something that we'll then focus on in training. I think that the game then leads us to what we prepare for in training, and then it's just kind of a cycle. We then get to play a game again. We watch the game, see how we do. These are the areas we want to improve in. These are the areas we did well in. Next game.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, as you're looking at all these pieces, are we doing the plan we implemented? Is that plan working? How is it working individually, collectively? Are we doing what we said we were going to do in the 4 phases? Are we saying those key words that we have all of those elements to it? You spoke before that about, hey, if someone's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, if they understand how the game is being called and they're not making the adjustments, then what they can do is make an adjustment. What I can do is make an adjustment as well and sub them out. The art of subbing, knowing when to do it. How have you learned over the years? Because I know every game is different and every situation is different and there's different things that are come on, right? Somebody's not at full go right now. Their head's not in the match. They're, maybe they tweaked something. I mean, there's moments that you can see and say, okay, you know what? Their head's not in the game. Their body's off. Something's off today. Maybe we need to give them a spell. But there's other moments where you're subbing and maybe over time you've just realized when is the right time to do it, because your team's going to go through moments, right? There's going to be a lapse of something's not going to work out right. Somebody might let the play before get to them and they can't shake it like they shook it in the last match. How do you know if you're seeing 3 frustrating moments or 1 frustrating moment, or there's a spell of time where something doesn't work out right? When is the right time to sub when you're looking at these things? Because you don't want to knee jerk and say every time something goes wrong, I'm taking somebody off the field. So how did you learn the art of substitution? And maybe if there is any parallels that you see from match to match where you're saying, okay, these are things that can happen at any time and that's individual, but there's this other kind of art to subbing that I know I can take from match to match. Is there something, a layer to it that does make sense in every game?
So a few things. One, men's soccer last year put in a limit on the moments of substitutions. Where in the past I could sub one player and go through my entire team. I could sub all the 11 players out in the first half by the laws of the game,
Yeah.
individually. And now we have certain moments, so you'll run out of moments. So you have to now be careful on how many substitutions you make in the first half. Halftime isn't counted, and then how many you make in the second half. And there's no re-entry now in each half.
Yeah.
So the challenge for us now is different. So to answer the question, it's twofold question, because I will make changes, but it might not necessarily be with a substitution. So as soon as I think the opponent has given us a new problem that I have to solve, that the team has to solve, if they can't figure it out on their own, which I hope that they can, I hope I've taught them well enough to figure it out, then I will help them make that change within the personnel on the field. So for example, if our team is prepared thinking that an opponent is going to play in a certain way, but they are only playing in front of us, and we're dropped off a little bit, but every ball they're playing is in front of us, the line can now get out higher up the field. If they keep pumping balls behind us and we're not dealing well with the space behind us, our team may have to now drop off a little bit. If they haven't figured that out, I'll help with that. But let's say that we play with two players up front and they've solved those two players. We're not getting anything from the game from these two attacking players.
Yeah.
My choice is to take a player off the field and replace them. But if I have my two best players on, the player I'm bringing into the game, unless it's a different physical quality, like they're 6 inches taller or they're faster, if it's a similar player with similar abilities but lesser abilities because they're coming into the game, then switching those two players out probably wouldn't make sense. I need to give the opponent a new problem. I might restructure the players on the field to play three up front, to give them a new player somewhere where they don't solve it, I guess. The game's about solving problems and giving problems. I hope to try to give the opponent more problems than they can solve, and hopefully we solve them.
I love that. I can appreciate that very much so. Paul, I want to go to the scarves for a second here, as we've spoken about the game and breaking down the game. I want to go to the wonderful background, because of all of the pictures that I do, this is one of my favorite. Every time I talk with you, I'm like, okay, I could see the scarves again. So have there been any new additions, or what have been the newest additions to the wall of scarves?
I didn't get one this summer. I went to a few games this summer, and I was disappointed. I went to a Real Madrid game in Philadelphia, and I couldn't find a scarf. The Bearcat scarf is always my favorite. We had a Bearcat scarf for season tickets for such a long time, and we redesign them every year. My favorite one is probably the stripes. It's probably the hoop stripes. So this one's probably my favorite.
Okay. I like that.
But I do have something that's a little unique. So when my daughters were young, Theo was one of my daughter's favorite favorite stuffed animal. And when I would travel, she would always ask, Daddy, is Theo going with you? So Theo went with me. He's made it to World Cups. He's traveled over to Europe. He goes on every away game I travel with.
Yeah.
So he sits here in my office, and then when I get ready to pack my bag to leave, he travels with me. So that's pretty neat. And Baxter went to the World Cup as well. Baxter went to the Brazil 2014 World Cup. So that's pretty neat. So I do have two stuffed animals in my office as well. There's a bunch of scarves.
I love that. Theo and Baxter have gotten to see more of the world than most of us. So,
true. That is true. They travel a lot.
Which is awesome. I have to ask you this. So when I make my trip down very soon here to Binghamton, and I plan on making sure that that trip is taken here, hopefully next week before I have to head down to Georgia. So my question to you is there a scarf currently in the bookstore, or is there a way for me to grab a Binghamton scarf?
I'll have a scarf for you. I'll have a scarf.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Because I'm going to put that in the studio, because what I've done, so I have like the little Binghamton, the B, but I was like, I
Yep.
got to have something that I can like really rock.
No. I have a scarf for you when you come down.
Okay. All right. So fair enough. Well, I appreciate that. I was like, I'd go buy one at the bookstore, find one, but
Nope. The bookstore does sell them, but I have one for you.
well, thank you, Paul. So I look forward to having that and rocking that here. And of course, it will leave my studio like Theo and like that wonderful Bearcat will leave with me and come to me with a match, and it'll go over my shoulders, and then it'll come back to the studio. But I definitely, well, because you gotta have one, right? I mean, I got one. I think I got one for Orlando when I was covering them and they were coming into the MLS. And so I got one for them. And then my mom got me a Charlotte FC because that's my team. So she did get me a Charlotte FC for this past Christmas that I'm able to rock and appreciate. But I definitely appreciate the scarf life. And I love that it tells a story. I bet you I could point to any scarf there and you could tell me something about it.
For sure.
Do you have a favorite?
I mean, the Manchester United scarf is my favorite. Just that's because the team I love. Do I have a favorite? That one that sits in the back that you can see is white.
Yeah.
That is the first NSCAA international diploma that I helped teach in Germany with the DFB. So that was a pretty favorite time. We had a wonderful trip. We were with the DFB. We were with some professional clubs. It was a really great time.
Well, and for those that have seen you on the show over these last couple of years here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, you've spoken about, and I think the first time that we spoke was about, what you've done teaching wise and the connections you've been able to make and going all over the world. And again, going back to what we started talking about, being a sponge, wanting to continue to learn and grow and challenge yourself. For you, of all the countries that you've been in, all the places that you've had an opportunity to build relationships, build bridges, is there a place that you haven't gone that is on your list to say, this love for soccer has brought me to so many places, but I haven't been here, I want to go here? Is there a place?
I went to Kenya last year. I want to spend more time in Africa. I want to go see some other African countries. Looks like I'll be going back to Kenya next summer to teach another coaching course. I would like to see, 4 or 5 other African countries. I would like to go to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, that area, because the game is exploding there. Mostly because of the money in Saudi Arabia with their professional league and bringing in top players and top coaches.
Yeah.
Ronaldo is now playing there and other top players. So I would like to spend some time. I do get to spend some time with them, but not in their country. So I do get to spend some time with Saudi Arabia players, coaches, national coaches. But I would like to visit those areas.
You mentioned
perhaps Japan as well. Japan, China. For the last few years, I've been looking for a player. We have such a big student body here, is filled with a good Chinese, South Korean, Japanese. I would love to try to find a player for the Bearcats in that part of the world as well.
Well, and that's also another thing, and the beauty of the sport of soccer is that, any nook and cranny that you go to, and probably for any sport, to go to the ends of the earth to try and find the right fits. But I love that soccer can literally bring a United Nations to a school. Like it can give you such a pulse of so many different parts of the world, because the sport of soccer is played in so many places and loved by so many places. And so, I hope you get that opportunity to continue to expand and to grow. You mentioned Qatar, and when Qatar was brought up as like, this is where we're going to showcase soccer for the world. I feel like some people, especially in America, were like, why Qatar? How did that happen? So what can you say? I know you said, the Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the money that they're putting into this and just having the opportunity to grow and to bring in elite players and whatnot. But if we were to speak on Qatar specifically, what should people know that maybe they don't know from simply seeing the name and going, well, why is the World Cup here? Why are we focusing on this area of the world? Why do you think Qatar has had such a connection to soccer to the point where there is a spotlight?
Probably 16 years ago, 17 years ago, I had the opportunity to have their technical director on one of our courses. He came over to take our premier badge, and he was in my group. So I got to build a good relationship with him. And the things that they were doing 15, 16 years ago was leading to that moment. They were putting a lot of money and resources into infrastructure, into curriculum design, into periodization, all of the things that elite players, elite coaches, elite performing teams look at. They were starting to build that. It may have even been 20 years ago now. So it wasn't a surprise to me. I think that it's easy to say that, there's a lot of money in that area of the world. There's a lot of money that was put into FIFA to try to get it, but they did a wonderful job with the World Cup. They took the World Cup and made it something new because they didn't play in the summertime. We played that World Cup in the wintertime for us. And I think that was beneficial to all the players. They were able to pull it off during the season of most of the international calendar is built around club sides, which, start in August and end in May.
Yeah.
So it was very neat. I mean, I loved it from a fan standpoint. We were watching a lot of national team games during the celebration of the winter holidays. So our season ended and I got to turn the TV on and watch games.
Yeah. And there's,
I was invited to go and teach at the World Cup, but I had decided not to go. I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't go, but it was, it's still a place I would like to go.
I'm going to ask you a question, and you can feel free to say no. It has nothing to do with being live to the world on video or audio. I'm just going to ask the question because you and I built a relationship over time. So feel free to turn me down. But is there any path that when you get to do a worldly experience of training and learning and growing and whatnot, is there any path, and I'm not asking Binghamton to like foot the bill on this or anything like that. I'm just saying, is there a place where I'm sitting next to Paul Marco on a trip overseas to actually physically get to be there with you while you're teaching and see what it's all about? Like, could there be a world where I get to kind of docu-series this thing and experience it for myself?
Yeah, I think the only challenge would be is how we're going to fund you to go. That would probably be the only piece. That would be kind of neat to have a documentary of one of the courses that we do or one of the educational offerings that we do. That would be really, really cool.
Yeah, I would love the opportunity just because, I mean, hearing you talk about it all the time, I'm like, man, I would love to be there and actually get to see the bones of it, like how, because as much as we talk about it, when when you experience something, it's so much, there's things that are just in the moment that just hit you a certain type of way, and they take you to a place, they challenge you, and I think it'd be wonderful because you challenge yourself so much to be able to tell that story. I think there should be an open bet that there should be something of the record between you and Neil Bhattacharjee, and whoever has a better season, the person that didn't has to foot the bill for me to go with that. That's how we should do it. So Neil,
well, he's already off to a great start.
I know. So Neil, you're on alert. Speaking on being off to a great start here, though, you have the opportunity to start your season within just a few days. You're going to be starting it at Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, on the road at Boston College, Thursday, August 21st at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time will be the first match of the season. It will see the Bearcats on the road and going to a place that is connected to Neil Bhattacharjy's history, because him and I were talking about BC last week. So your thoughts on the opener to this season, as you will have a match at Boston College and you'll actually have 2 matches on the road before you come home a week from this Thursday when you open up at Bearcat Sports Complex against Mount St. Mary's. So just to speak on the opening of the season and knowing that it's going to be on the road, not too far away, Chestnut Hill.
I think it's a wonderful opponent to play. They're very well coached, very well disciplined. He's done a wonderful job with his team and the culture that he's been putting in and the daily environments that they're in. I think it's a good challenge for our guys, one that the guys have prepared for over the summer. Our guys came back pretty fit. Our guys came back pretty mentally sharp. The leadership in the team has been excellent. I thought that over the summer, this is the most connected I have felt the group be. This is the most engaged this group has been in a very long time. So as a coach, it's been wonderful because, the players have to kind of embrace that and do that.
Yeah.
They hold each other to that. It's difficult for the coach to do those things. For sure, I try and set the standards, but they have to uphold them to each other. Otherwise, I'm just a police officer. I'm not really a coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we'll be prepared. We hopefully get a couple of guys back. We've had a difficult spell with some injuries prior to coming into preseason. We were without a few returning key names. So hopefully we get a few of those guys back.
Well, and like you said, going through injury and having to adjust, how have you seen the next man up approach and how this team has responded to that? As much as you want to see those players come back in the fray, what has it done to elevate those that may have been playing behind them?
We've always had that mentality. I mean, as long as I can remember. I mean, a big one was we started maybe in 2007, that long ago. We had Keith was our big time striker, and he missed the first 5 games, I think 6 games, and I think we won each of those games 1-0. And it was just, he got hurt and who was next, and it just kind of rolled.
Yeah.
The guys back then, I remember them. If somebody got injured during training, they were kind of, tapping their foot on the floor, kind of waiting. All right, get this guy off so we can keep training. and the face never really mattered. I think that this team kind of has that attitude, although they care about their teammates greatly, truly care greatly about their teammates. They've shown an attitude of, all right, if a player does go down, well, let's just get on with it. Because they know that we're still going to play games. We're still going to have to prepare. And whoever, is available for the game, that's who's going to play. I really like that attitude that the guys have taken. We've had some key names out, and I feel love for them, and I feel the team misses them and loves them, but they're just getting on with it. It's just, let's line them up and get after it.
Yeah, well, like you said, I mean, like as much as you love each other, you have to go with where you're at in life, and you have to deal with what's in your control, what's out of your control, and have a response to it. We've spoken about this sport taking you all over the world, connecting you to places all over the world. When I look at the roster, I'm looking at New York, I'm looking at Virginia, Georgia, but then you're also seeing Israel and England. And I know you and I have talked about some of this before, and in Germany as well as Jamaica. After some of these had come in and these commitments were made official, you and I spoke about the fact that we are looking all over the world, and we're looking into really anywhere where you feel like you are going to be helped. So yes, you have your New York, yes, you have your Virginia, you have your Pennsylvania, you have Northeast area places, but then the Brazils and the Israels and the Germanys and the Englands come into the fray as well. I know that, like I said, we've discussed some of these commitments, so I don't want to have a conversation we've already had. But when you look across your roster now and you've gone through your training and you've seen what this team has, and you know that you're playing your first match of the 2025 season in just a few days, how would you describe your roster in the returners and the new faces that are coming onto now that you've actually gotten to physically see them work out with each other, train with each other, and prepare for a season, and it's not just commitments on the dotted line? What does this group look like to you as you get set to kick things off here in just a couple days?
Well, we have big shoes to fill when Carlo graduated, because he was such a great leader and a good player. But he was selfless. He always put the team first. He was always trying to be competitively on edge. So we had to fill that void. And I think that we've got a lot of guys that have stepped up. Our captain, Will Mahoney, has done a very good job. We've had other guys, Bulky and Simon and Ramsey and Luke. They've done a very good job. I think that the pieces have kind of put themselves in the right spaces right now. I think we have the right faces in the right spaces.
Okay.
So our puzzle is starting to come together. We started camp with 6 players out injured. We're getting those guys back daily, weekly. Hopefully we get all of them back this year. And those are some big key faces for us, some wonderful players for us. So only time will tell when those faces come back in. And then the challenge, of course, will be, as we've already been playing a little bit currently. So we pick up a new face now that goes into the team. What happened to the face that was playing, against Navy? So I think those are some wrinkles that obviously you enjoy as coaches, because you're getting your team healthy and more players, and you want everybody available for selection. So hopefully that comes true soon.
Yeah. And as this season gets ready to kick off, I'm ecstatic for this because it's finally here. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'm very much looking forward to wearing my scarf. So that's what I'm looking forward to here. Paul, we get to jump into rapid fire as we always do. You can fire off the first question. What do you have for me?
What is your favorite racket sport? So ping pong, racquetball, pickleball, tennis.
My favorite racket sport. That's a good question. I'm gonna say I'm gonna throw a little curveball one you didn't say, because my grandmother used to have the rackets in the garage, and she'd have that little birdie there. I would say badminton. I love playing some badminton. We used to do it in high school in gym class, and people don't understand like how when I was out there, I might have not have shown it on my face, but I wanted to like win everything, and I was willing to like fly across the room, go a bunch of like if wherever we were playing, if it went over into somebody else's area, I'm willing to go all the way down, get it, and then still try to hit it and get it over. Like I thought every court was in play if the birdie was up in the air.
Shuttlecock.
Yeah.
Call the shuttlecock.
I know. I call I always feel like I'm like, this is a family show, and I know sometimes people say it and they giggle, so I call it the birdie just to be fair and nice. But yeah, the shuttlecock that you hit up in the air, that like foam ball that's got that piece on it. But yeah, I mean, whenever we played it as kids growing up, I don't know, I just loved it. And I would just go outside, and hand-eye coordination is important to me. So I'd just be messing with it out there in the backyard if I was playing by myself. And then when we would, they said we're going to do it in gym class, I'm like, oh, I don't think these people are ready for this smoke that's about to come their way. So I'm going to say badminton for sure.
So I taught badminton at West Virginia in some activity classes for a few years.
Okay.
And I had some I mean, I thought I was pretty good, and then I had what pretty good looked like come into class. I had a few players that played at pretty high levels in their country. They were international students, and they were excellent. And they taught me a lot about teaching the game as well as playing the game.
Yeah, well, I'd love to learn a little bit. I'd love to get, kind of put some grease, get the rust off here and get myself
Well,
out
I've
of
been hit with it, and let me tell you, when you get hit by somebody who can play really well, it leaves a good welt. You get a good bruise.
Yeah, well, people think like you take some of those direct hits, and I've probably sent some, and I've gotten some, and they're, oh, it's such a soft thing. I'm like, not when it comes at you at a certain speed.
Not when it comes at you. Yeah.
So, but my question back to you, Paul, you always give me questions that I've never gotten before, so I love the challenge of it. So my question to you, I want to go with animals for whatever reason. I'm here this morning with it. So, if you morphed into an animal today, what animal would you be? And what animal whatever animal you choose to be, what animal would you then challenge in the wild to go up against you? So what animal do you morph into, and who do you pick your first fight with?
I think I would be the cheetah, fastest land animal.
Okay.
Who would I challenge? I mean, I would challenge somebody I knew I was going to win. So I would beat. But I will say this. So about animals, I had a soccer coach, college coach, when we would work camp. Yeah. He would tell the story of the little animals against the big animals. And he could literally kill 45 minutes with this story, because he would engage all the kids and he would ask for an animal. And they would say the rabbit. And he would go, oh, the rabbit. What position does the rabbit play? And he would take the physical qualities of players. So the giraffe, of course, plays up front because they would be great in the air to head the ball in the goal. The gorilla plays in the goal because of their long arms and able to. And it was wonderful. And the joke, the punchline, the moral of the story was that the little animals were getting killed by the big animals until halftime. Halftime comes, the little animal gets a new player, the centipede comes out to play, and they take the game over with their tricks and their flicks and all of their great moves with their feet. And at the end of the game, the centipede wins the game, and they ask why the centipede won. Where were you in the first half? Well, I was putting my shin guards on. So it was pretty cute.
That's awesome.
Cute. But he could tell that story, and it was never the same story.
Yeah.
He would always use animals because the animals were the ones that the kids came up with.
Well, what I love is he was also showing them that there's no one that doesn't have value.
Correct.
What's your second question for me?
Who's been your no, that's not a great question. Let's ask what is one of your most difficult moments on air? You'll share.
No, I will. So one thing came to mind right away, and then another thing I think is one that I could easily say, so I guess I'll say both. But when my grandmother passed away, my mom's mom, G-Mama, I call her, it was not that I wasn't going to go on the air, but it was the thought of her not physically being here. And I can't even tell you what I said or how I said it. It was just a thing of am I going to bawl my eyes? Am I just going to cry?
Right.
And
filled with emotion.
Yeah. And she helped me through it.
Yeah.
And so did God. Very much so. I would say the other one, and a lot of people don't know this because there's no connection. It was not a good relationship. It wasn't equally yoked. It wasn't a good bond. And so years ago, I was married almost 8 years ago, and just wasn't a good relationship. I learned from her, hope she learned from me. And on a Sunday, she had said some things and acted a certain way the day before. And I was like, okay, to me, there's enough that's gone on in this, that this needs to be done. It's not healthy, and I don't need this in my life. And I felt like God had kind of hit my reset button, so I was ready to go. And my mom looked at me after my ex-wife left the house, and she said, "Are you going to go on the air tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah. Why wouldn't I?" And she said, "Well, I was like, Ma, whatever she thinks she's taken from my life, she will never take what I love." And I went on the next day and I broadcasted. And for 2 days, I spoke about a broad scope of handling adversity and going through problems, not necessarily a marriage, but anything. And I had a guy reach out to me and he's like, "I got this going on with my mom right now." And then I had another guy reach out to me and say, like, "This is going on with my kid." And so in sharing my pain the way that I decided to share it, immediately there were other people out in the universe that were like, "Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for spreading this message today," because I needed to hear it. And it spoke to me in a totally different relationship in my life. And so in that essence, it was God's reminder to me of like, you can't stop. What I have planned for you, you have to keep going, because there's a message that I need you to relay to other people. I need you to continue to spread me to the world. I need you to continue to do my work. And I'll never forget my mom going, "Are you going on the air?" And I looked at her like she was crazy. And I was like, "Yeah, why the heck wouldn't I?" So I'd say probably those two moments.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Of course. My question back to you, what do you consider your most difficult moment coaching?
Overall,
Mm-hmm.
it would be I can't think of a specific one. I think that when you drop a player from the starting team who's been in the starting team, those are challenging, because you got to have honest conversations before you drop them in front of the team, because you're going to announce the starting team.
Yeah.
So I try to always meet with the players before it. I can't always do it, but I try to. I think that there are friction moments for sure. That's why if I ever say we're going to meet in the library here on campus, that's not a good meeting, because we can't yell at each other in the library. And I feel like it might get to that. So, but with friction becomes progress. I mean, that's how you get, that's how I get from work to here, the rubber on the road. I get here through some friction. So I do think we need a little bit of friction in the team. I don't want it all smooth sailing. But I will say that that's probably one of the more difficult moments when you're going to take a senior veteran player and you're going to drop them from the starting team. Those are difficult moments. Those are difficult conversations.
That's fair. I will take with me from here on out now that in order to get anywhere in life, you need friction, because the rubber on the road. So I will take that with me as a positive to take the place of a negative. Your final question for me, Paul.
When are we doing lunch?
That is a good question. I have every intent to hopefully next week get down to Binghamton, because I want to do it before I head out to Georgia. So I feel...
So I'll be free after training. You can come out to training if you'd like.
Okay.
But we end training around 2:30ish. So depending on the day.
Okay. Fair enough for me. But no, because I was looking at, like I said, my message, our last couple messages, and I just saw lunch with the exclamation point, and I was like, yeah, we did say that we were going to meet up, so we need to do that.
If breakfast works, I like breakfast too. So if breakfast works better for you, let me know.
Yeah.
We start training around 12:30.
Okay.
If you're going to be in town earlier than that, breakfast works.
Okay, so breakfast or lunch.
Great diners here. We've got great food. Period. So.
And there's a diner that I love, and I can't think of the name of it. And it's not that far from Binghamton and from the university. For some reason, I can't put my finger on it, but it's the one that I would go to with someone that I call like an adopted grandfather, my grandpa Bill, who absolutely cherish.
You know what's around?
It's like if you come out of the city It's kind of standalone by it's a really old looking diner, and it has like all the old pictures on the wall when you go in, and when you walk in there's the dining room, there's the middle area with the stools, and then there's another dining room. And
is it on the river?
No.
Okay.
No, it's like right, it's like outside of the city, it's right in a neighborhood, it's by itself, and it's got like that old, like, I want to say it's got like that greeny look, that greeny pink, like the diner, the old diner style, but I can't for the life of me remember the name of it. And I was just talking about it, and I was like, I can see it, but I can't name it.
It might be the one over on Front Street. Sounds like that one.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been there only once. I liked it. The food was very good.
Yeah.
One of my assistants, we try to pick places to go. Each of us get to pick one when we're going out for breakfast. We ended up at a couple. We usually go to the ones on the Parkway just because it usually is between where we train off campus and on campus. But yeah, they're all very good. They're all great.
No, there's good places to eat in Binghamton for sure. So you and I will be in touch about if it's going to be breakfast or lunch. My question back to you, my final question for you is, okay, I've never asked this before. So if you had to pick a meal to describe me, what would be the Dan Tortora meal presented by Paul Marco?
Well, I love Italian food, so I would have to pick an Italian dish of some kind.
Okay.
You already brought up lasagna, and it's been on my mind for about 3 weeks, by the way. I've been talking about lasagna after I want to have lasagna instead of pizza, which I can't believe I just said, because pizza's my favorite food. But I want to have lasagna a couple of times after the games, right in the locker room, so the guys will eat. We're trying to get them fed within the first, 25, 30 minutes after the game to help with recovery.
Yeah.
And I think lasagna might put a smile on some of the guys' faces, different than pizza. I would probably say chicken cacciatore.
Okay.
Chicken because, well, first of all, I think that it's a very, for me, I enjoy the meal. I think there's a lot of different flavors, different layers into it. It's different wherever you get it. It always doesn't taste the same. Some people put different things in it. But there are certain ingredients that everybody puts in it. Yeah, I would go with chicken cacciatore. Plus, I like the name.
All right. Off the It does. It does. Chicken cacciatore. I like it. So, and I can honestly say that that's a dish I don't know that well, so I'd have to get to know that dish for sure. But with that being said, getting to know Paul Marco here in this edition of the Bearcat Breakroom, you can go and see your Bearcats on the road starting off this Thursday. And I implore you, if you're going to be out in that area of Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, to wear your green and support the Bearcats. They will be going up against Boston College to start the season for men's soccer Thursday, August 21st at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A week from that day, they will have their first home match on Thursday, August 28th at 6:07 p.m. Why? Because that is the area code down in Binghamton, and that's against Mount St. Mary's of Maryland. And in between that, they'll be at George Washington in our nation's capital of Washington, D.C. on Sunday, August 24th. So, Paul, you and I will see each other soon. I already have an idea that I've come up with, and I already have a couple days next week. So I'm going to be working out this idea and seeing if we can get this thing going. But thank you, as always, for your time, and thank you for all that you do.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care, Paul.
Bye-bye.
See you. That coming from Paul Marco here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we'll be bringing you the ingredients to success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's. Perfect timing by Paul Marco to talk about chicken cacciatore and wanting to make my dish an Italian dish, with me being Italian and us about to talk about Avicolli's right after this.
Cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And Avicolli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicolli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on into the neighborhood spot Avicolli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's K9, ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry-loving friend. Right, Lily?
And many thanks go out to Chick-fil-A DeWitt. Chick-fil-A DeWitt here with us that just opened to start off August and is now there on the corner of Bridge and Erie by so many main roads and highways of central New York. Chick-fil-A DeWitt is in the heart of colleges and high schools in the area. They employ student athletes and students that are there in our community, building and growing and learning together. They provide such a wonderful opportunity for the community to really get around our kids, because those kids are working at Chick-fil-A DeWitt. And I want to thank Megan Sorber for the experience that she provides and that everything they're doing at Chick-fil-A DeWitt to not only bring out those amazing chicken sandwiches that we love, but to be so much more than a chicken sandwich. Make sure you go and visit them today on the corner of Bridge and Erie at Chick-fil-A DeWitt. You can't miss it. It is by far the biggest Chick-fil-A that I have ever seen in my life. Make sure you head over there today and let them know that DT sent you. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, it's time for us to jump into the ingredients to success, speaking on God's timing. So as we are here inside these Great Lakes Honda City studios, I can't thank you enough for being a part of the show on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe. It is my honor and privilege to be able to speak with you and just to make memories together. And when we talk about life, the ingredients to success, that name that I came up with so many years ago, you know, I grew up in a family of fantastic cooks, people that are making things with their hearts, not just with their hands, but with their hearts. My grandmothers, my mom, now my dad cooks so much more now. When you make a meal in our family, you're telling people how you feel about them. You're telling them that you value their time, that you're willing to give your time. You want to spend time with them. You want to meet with them. You want to learn about them. You want to know about them. Our family meals, it wasn't just about throwing something together. It was about the preparation. And that's so important in life, right? To be as prepared as we can be. To have tools in our toolbox that we can use in situations that we can't possibly know are coming. Preparation. Like making a meal. Putting the time in. One of the things in life that you can't get back, your time. When you give someone your time, when you're on the phone with someone for an hour, you're not on the phone with anybody else for that hour. You're not doing anything else. Or maybe you are multitasking, but you're giving that person your time. Can't get time back. So you look at assembling this meal, the preparation of it, the time that you put into it. And then when you put it on the table, it's so that you can visit with the person that you made the food for. It's so you can learn about them, grow with them, understand them. Meals are different to me because of the family that I have. And I'm just realizing now that my parents and my grandparents were teaching me so much in simply saying, make sure you're home for dinner. You know, my parents to this day want to get together. My dad will text me or call me, lunch, dinner, pick a day. I'm having lunch with my mom today. Like, we constantly get together over food. We're constantly spending time together over that. So it's funny because the world will look at me and say, man, you're so busy. You're so busy. Do you sleep? You're constantly doing things. And I take that as a compliment. And yes, I am out here chasing these dreams of mine, and I am doing this with God, and I give him all the credit. I don't deserve the credit. He deserves the credit for how I'm about to get it. That's what Nicki Minaj says in one of the songs, right? He deserves the credit. And so for me, yeah, I'm busy, and there's always something I can be doing. But for the people that I love, I will make the time. And that's something that's never changed. My parents instilled that in me. Like, you make sure you sit down and you have a meal and you visit with the people that you love. You're never going to regret having a meal with somebody that you love. So food is different to me. It's not just food. It's not just nourishment. It's so much more than that. It's more for my soul than it is for my stomach. And today's topic for the ingredients to success brought to you by an incredible, wonderful local business here in our community, Avicolli's, 7839 Oswego Road, Liverpool, New York, the home for our Liverpool athletic broadcasts every single month. And this month we have two. We have one this Thursday and one next Wednesday. So we'll see you Thursday, August 21st with Liverpool boys volleyball at Avicolli's at 6 p.m. And then we'll see you next Wednesday, August 27th at 6 p.m. with Liverpool golf for the first time ever. And we'll be on the pizza casual side of Avicolli's, right down the road from Liverpool High School. You can literally walk from the high school to Avicolli's in just a few minutes. So we'll see you over there this week and next week. And hopefully you'll head over there today for lunch, dinner, and drinks, of course, as always. If you're going to drink, be of age and drink responsibly. Don't make it anybody else's problem for you getting home. So 7839 Oswego Road, Liverpool, New York, Avicolli's, the place to break bread with your family. I really love Avicolli's. Today's topic is God's timing. God's timing. A lesson he has tried to teach me for 39 years. A lesson that I am just now beginning to follow and understand. My apologies to God for that. But that his timing is better than mine. That sometimes things don't work out because they're not supposed to work out right now. Or sometimes things don't work out because there's something else. You know, my mom said something to me a few years ago. Actually, it was last year. Last year. Feels like it was a long time ago. And that's another testament to God being smarter than me and better than me. Is that this thing that I thought was really going to get at me and hurt me and bother me, it's just kind of one of those things that happened in the past and I couldn't control it. But there was a team that I had worked with for so many years, and the longest credential I've ever held. And to me, I did nothing to lose this credential. You know, I work hard, I build relationships, I, you know, connected with the players, talked to the players about far more than football, was there when they were losing, was there when they were winning, was there through some of the worst seasons they've ever had, and was still building relationships when they didn't want to talk to anybody, arguably. And I gave so much to that. I would get on a plane and fly to their home games, where most people would drive to a home game. And some people in the area that maybe even had credentials wouldn't even come to the game. How many times I was at games, pretty much every game I went to outside of maybe one, there was name tags and nobody sitting in that seat. And those people might have been living right there down the road and they're not coming to the game. And here I am getting on a plane to come to a game, buying a rental car to come to the game, willing to do whatever I need to do, travel an hour in, an hour out, because where I was staying was out of town. So willing to rent a car, willing to travel, willing to get on a plane, willing to buy all my food. Spending the money and the time and going beyond what was typical just because I love covering that team. And then two people came in the building and spit on me. And it hurt. And to this day, I don't understand what felt like a personal attack against a total stranger. I don't even know if either one of those people can spell my last name. But I don't hate them. And I don't wish bad on them. If anything, I pray that God comes into their heart even more. Shows them that you shouldn't spit on anybody, let alone somebody who loves your organization so dearly that they're willing to go to the ends of the earth just to be there. But my mom said something to me last year. She said, "You've done everything you possibly could do. You've more than proven yourself. You have all the information on your side, all the evidence to show them that you do the work, that you've been consistent, and they don't want to see it. You have sent them I sent them example after example after example. There was over a decade of work, and I had to pick and choose what I sent because I wasn't going to send them everything. But you send somebody, 20, 30, 40 videos of work, and they didn't care. The narrative that they had fabricated was the narrative that they were going to continue. And my mom said to me one day, she goes, "Daniel, listen, I know you're upset, and you have every right to be. But you've done everything that you could possibly do. You've given all your evidence. You've substantiated yourself. There's nothing else you can do. And when you've done everything right and you still are not getting where you want to go, that to me is God telling you that he wants you somewhere else." I'll never forget that my mother said that to me, and I've echoed it, and I've said it to so many people. She said, if you're not getting where you want to go, and you've done everything right and everything you can do, and they still won't let you in, at that point you have to realize that it's God telling you that he wants you to refocus. He wants you to focus elsewhere. And after she said that to me, I said, okay. I don't agree with it. I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm disappointed. And I got to keep going. Right? I'm an adult. I got to keep going. Nobody's going to grab my hand and pick me up and put me in the stroller and wheel me about. I got to use these legs and I got to figure it out. So she said, all right, God's redirecting you. I said, okay, that's a positive way to look at it, Mom. Guess what ended up happening? First year of the 12-team college football playoff, I was credentialed for every single round of something that will never happen again. There will never be a first year of the 12-team playoff ever again. From here on out, it's whatever it becomes, but there's only going to be one first time that they did this bracket the way that they did it. And I was at Penn State for the first round, SMU at Penn State. And in the second round, I was at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl for Texas against Arizona State. And then I was at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic for the semifinal for Texas and Ohio State. And then I was at the national championship game in Atlanta, Georgia, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for Ohio State and Notre Dame. I met Anthony Mackie at the national championship game, a.k.a. Captain America. I was one of a couple hundred people, a few hundred people in the entire world that was credentialed for that national championship. And I look back on that and I say, you know what, Mom, you were right. God was redirecting me. There's a place I had gone for so long and I loved for so long and I wanted to be there and spend the rest of my life there. Doing all these other things, but make sure that I put in my schedule that I'm always going to be here. Till the day I die. And then God said, you can't be here right now. And then I end up at the college football playoff. And I've covered the college football playoff before, but there was never a 12-team playoff before. And I had never been on site for a national championship of anything, BCS or CFP. And I still to this day can't believe that I was there. But God is great. And God's timing is better than mine. And God was telling me in that moment, I can't have you spending your time here. I need you over here. And you know what the thing is? I thought I would sit there and miss it, but I didn't. I was busy. God has a way of taking what somebody tries to do negatively toward me and turning it into like the greatest blessing. There's never been a time in my life where someone's tried to hurt me and God was like, yep, that's right, stay hurt. I agree. You want to hurt them? Let's go hurt Dan together. God has gone, oh, they want to hurt you? Oh, we're going to bounce this thing off real quick. I'm going to put plexiglass around you. Not only are we going to bounce that off of you, but we're going to go out here and shine, Daniel. They want you to sit in here and be depressed and be under a bed sheet. I'm going to put you right out there in front of everybody. And we're going to do this thing together. God has never let a strike toward me end up knocking me out. Never. And I know he never will. I will always get up off that mat. No matter how many times people throw whatever type of punch. And something that I thought was going to really hurt me and affect me, I don't remember not filling that time with something. I don't remember not being busy at the time where I would have been on that plane and would have been driving to that game and would have been sitting in that press box. He has a way of working for your good if you believe in him, if you trust in him. If you lean into God, you will never not have his love. It's always going to be there. And I love talking about God. And his timing is better than mine. It's so much better than mine. I thought I was going to be living in Florida all the time. I thought that that would be my time. I thought my time would be there, right? And it is my second home and I go there a lot, but I thought that I would be staying down there. I thought that, my time was supposed to be spent on SportsCenter. I thought my time was supposed to be spent here, there, and everywhere. And God has shown me, hey, my timing is better than yours. And it's not just timing as to when it happens, it's where he wants you to put that time. It's not just simply, Daniel, this is, God's timing in the sense of it's going to happen this year instead of next year. Or it's going to happen 10 years from now instead of right now. It's not just that, speaking of it. It's where he wants you to spend your time, not just the time itself. It's the where, with whom. He has put people into my life that I did not anticipate meeting. Relationships that I wanted to have so many years ago, and I felt so alone. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I don't need these. I'm not here for that. I'm here to build relationships here. I'm not here to try and get in somebody's treehouse, right? And then all of a sudden, he builds all these relationships that I no longer needed. And when I showed him I don't need them, I'm okay without them, that's when they came in abundance. And in my life, there's certain things that I've shown him, like, I need to have this. Like, I need to have that wife. I want to have that partner. I want to have kids. I want to be a dad. And I kept trying to force it to happen. Not the dad part, but forcing to have that relationship. Like, this has got to be the right, like, the next person's got to be the right person. When all this time, I feel like maybe God was trying to show me that I didn't need, he wanted me to show him I didn't need it. I didn't need it. And you know what? Laying in bed with my little Lily, my daughter, my pup, laying right next to me. I'm watching TV last night, and she's all snuggled up with, or yesterday, and she's all snuggled up with me. And I thought to myself, I got the best life ever. I got the best life. Like, her curled up there, knowing that I'm her dad, and she's my kid. I was like, you know what? I don't need that wife. I don't need those kids. I want to have it, yeah. But this is enough for me. Like, I think about that all the time now when I get into bed. I'm like, how many people have a dog that loves you so dearly and bonds with you that you forget that that's an animal and you're a human? To me, it's like we're both animals or we're both humans because we speak the same language, we understand each other, and I know that I am her father. And I know I was always meant to be her dad. And I know that she's my daughter, and I know that she was always meant to be my kid. And I'm beyond explaining that to anybody because I know it's true. And I love my bond and my relationship with her. And as I'm laying in bed watching TV, I'm thinking to myself, I always wanted this woman to be laying next to me, wanted my kids to be able to run in here. And here I am, and it's Lily and I. And I'm not reaching over to the other side of the bed going, yeah, but. I'll be happy when this happens. I'm like, I'm happy now. I love what I have now. And being here with Lily, being here with the blessings that I do have, that's enough for me. And if that woman's never laying in bed next to me, hey, my company is 13 years old. And even when I was dating people, more often than not, I was doing it without them. I'm 21 years a broadcaster, and women have come in and out my life, and it hasn't changed me doing what I love and loving what I do. So what God has shown me is this life that I have, all I ever needed was Him. All I ever needed was to trust in Him. And when you have those moments that you look at your dog, or you look at your daughter, or you look at your spouse, or you look at a friend, or you look at a parent or a grandparent, and you say, man, I'm so happy God blessed me with you. I'm so happy God lets me do what I love and love what I do. I'm so happy that God has allowed me to build relationships, and that every roadblock that people have put in front of me for no justifiable reason, He has taken out of my path. We go over it, under it, through it, but we get by it every single time. What I've learned about God's timing is wherever He wants me to be, I'm always going to be me. And I'm not going to let that moment pass me. I'm going to be ready for that moment. I can be tired. I can be drained. I could be frustrated, sad, disappointed, confused, had it up to here. But when that camera goes on and that coach looks at me, it's just me and him, me and her, and there's nobody else in the room. Every time you look forward at whatever you're looking at, right? You're looking at whatever's in front of you. I want you to see God looking back at you. Because He will never hurt you. He will never let you down. And as hard as life seems sometimes, He will get you through everything. And He'll make you better. And His timing is better than yours. Because He knows what you need when you need it. And He knows how to get it to you. It's not, sorry to burst your bubble, folks, but it's not UPS. It's not FedEx. It's not the United States Postal Service, and it's not Amazon. God is the one who can get you what you need the fastest, the most efficiently. He will get you what you need when you need it. Trust His timing. Trust what it is. And trust how it comes to you. Because life is about what you make of it. You are the screenwriter. You are the author. You are telling a story. And the sooner you realize it's not about what other people think of you, it's not about what other people say about you, and it's not about what other people do. It's about you getting so close to God that it feels like you and Him are talking all the time. And that it's just the two of you on earth. And you are literally like grabbing a new piece of paper and you're drawing what you're hoping to create and accomplish. And He is right there with you. The closer you get to God, the more you realize this world doesn't have to be chaotic. It doesn't have to be crazy. Put it this way. The closer I've gotten to God, the more I realize that the world throws a temper tantrum, but it doesn't mean I have to. It doesn't mean that I have to respond to it. The world sometimes is like a very spoiled brat baby. And I'm not here to have the stomping up and down and screaming and wailing change my path, my effort, my enthusiasm, my faith, my love, or my health. When you realize it's between you and God, and it was never between you and them anyway, in the words, I believe, of Mother Teresa, that's when you level up. When you say to God, hey, whatever happens today in and out of my control, help me to handle it well. Help me to heal. Help me to be healthy, to be safe, to be happy. At the very least, happy to be myself and happy to be with you. Happy to be my authentic self that you made me to be, and happy that you are in my corner always. We make the mistake of treating God like a person. Well, God will cheat on us. God will lie to us. God will leave us. God will disrespect us. God will say one thing and do another. No, he won't. Well, Dan, Jesus was human and divine. God does not respond with fallacy. God is perfect. God does not leave you. If you feel lonely, if you feel the absence of God, and you feel like you're all by yourself, it's never because he's not there. It may be because you ran. It may be because you're not listening. It may be because you have chosen to distance yourself. But the amazing thing about God is you could screw up 1,000,000 times. 1,000,000 times 1,000,000. And when you turn around and you throw your arms open and you say, God, can I have a hug? You know what he says? Every time. Do you even have to ask? Come here. Of course you can. His timing is better than yours. Where he puts you, why he puts you, trust him. You are responsible for doing the best you can, being consistent, being honest, being kind, having morals and values, having a strong faith, a hope, and a belief in yourself and in him. Let him time it. You keep doing what you can do. All we can do is prepare, and we can try. And he will guide you to better than what you can ever imagine. I'm 39 years old, and I can already tell you for a fact, God will give you way more than your greatest dream. You have to trust him, you have to work hard, and you have to navigate through the times where you don't get exactly what you want. And you have to navigate through the times where you get exactly what you want. You got to be willing to navigate through, this is what I want, and navigate through, this is what I didn't want. How do you wake up happy every day? Because I know who my king is. I know who sits on the throne. I know who my spirit belongs to. I know who gave me this chance. And I know who I owe it all to. That's how I'm okay every day. God bless you all. God bless every living being everywhere. Let's do this thing together. And let's trust his timing. Brought to you by Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. I'm honored and blessed to get to tell the stories of Liverpool at Avicolli's. We'll see you this Thursday, August 21st, and we'll see you next Wednesday, August 27th. Both at 6 p.m., both on the pizza side. With that being said, I want to thank you for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. However you're connected with us, I appreciate you so very much up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe. Of course, you can search us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Want to give a very special thank you to the wonderful team at Brooklyn Pickle down in Southern Pines, North Carolina. We appreciate you, and I implore you to go and visit them on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina today. And make sure you let them know that DT sent you. They're right down the road from Pinehurst Golf Courses. And you can also go and visit our wonderful team of partners that continues to grow in Central and Upstate New York. I cannot say enough about this incredible team. Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Brian's Landing, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, Chick-fil-A DeWitt, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Avicolli's, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton Bobcats of Syracuse. You'll find the Bobcats every single month here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni, and what we call the Bobcat Buzz. Find over 100 specials by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. You'll find the Bearcats every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, like today, during Bearcat Time Worldwide. Student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni join me from Binghamton University weekly, and you can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. I want to thank you once again for tuning in inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios and implore you to trust Great Lakes Honda City for your next ride, be it a new car or a used, a buy or a lease. You could get a sneak peek by going to greatlakeshondacity.com and tell Elijah and the crew that DT sent you to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Many thanks inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' to Thomas Pascariello here with us, the league winners owner, sharing his story and sharing a positive side to the media. I thank God for helping us to cross paths, as well as crossing my path with Paul Marco, Binghamton University men's soccer head coach. He will be coaching the first match of the 2025 season coming up this Thursday on the road at Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts against Boston College, Thursday, August 21st at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And many thanks to Avicolli's for being an amazing member in our community and giving back to our community daily. Thank you for going out to Avicolli's, supporting local, and supporting a wonderful team that cares so much. Thanks to the Avicolli family and John Fratto and the entire crew at Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, X at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. More videos from Syracuse Football Camp are up on all of those, as well as on youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Make sure to follow us, like us, and subscribe on all these wonderful channels, and we look forward to speaking with you very soon. You already know, but I'll say it. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Take care. We'll talk soon. Remember, God's got your back.